Hello, beautiful fashion designers. You are welcome to this channel. This is Bora Closet, and I am Bora of Bora Closet. If you are new, you're welcome. Kindly click on the subscribe button and put on your notification bell so you get to know when I post new videos. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming around once again. I appreciate your contribution to this channel. And in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how I made this Milkmaid dress with the collar. I didn't just want it to be a Milkmaid dress, so I added the collar to it and the design at the down part. So if this sounds like what you're interested in knowing, please keep on watching and stay tuned. To make this dress, I'll be making use of these materials. I have this Adire fabric. It's 2.5 yards, and I also have this stay here as much as I need. And I have this net chantilly lace, and I also have my lining here as much as I need also. So I'll be putting the rest aside and work on the Adire fabric first for the down part. I'm going to be folding the material into two. Like, you can divide your hip by 4 and add the allowance you need to it to know what you should fold so you don't waste your fabric. And here I'm folding 13 inches because my hip divided by 4 is 10.5, and I will add 2 inches to that, which is 12.5, and I just decided to round it off to 13 inches, and that is what I have on fold. Then I'm going to mark the length of the down part, which is the full dress length minus the half length, and my full dress length is 60, my half length is 16. That means here I have to mark 44 inches as the length of the down part, and I will also add the joining allowance of 2 inches because I'll be folding it in with the lining. The down part will on 1 inch, and I'll use 1 inch also to join it at the upper part. So that makes it 46 inches that I have marked out here. Next, I'm marking 9 inches for the hip line. It's actually 8 inches, so I added that 1 inch to it for the allowance, the joining allowance at the top. So that's 9 inches I've marked out there. And the next thing I'm going to do is to take the dart measurement for the down part, and the nipple to nipple measurement is 8 divided by 2, that is 4, and that's what I marked there. Then 2 inches above the hip line, the dart will stop, and I'm going to connect that with the ruler and hold 0.5 inches on both sides of the dart, and I'll connect the 0.5 inches all the way down like that, just like we hold normal dart. Next, I'll be transferring the horizontal measurement. The waist measurement is 29, that is divided by 4, that is 7.25, and I will add 2 inch for allowance and the 1 inch that I'm holding for the last. So that means I'm adding 3 inches to 7.5 inches. That's going to be 10.5 inches, which I already marked out there. The hip measurement is 42 inches, like I said earlier, and that is why I folded. Now I'm taking 1.5 inches from the down part to make it fitted at the bottom so that it will not be too wide, and I'm going to slant the line to join with the hip line to curve it out that way, the way you'd see me doing. So this is what it looks like at the end of the day. That's the hip line. You can see the curve joining the hip line, and then the curve from the hip line all the way down to the end of the fabric. And I'm going to cut it out just like that. The front piece of the down part is ready, and I'm going to fold more fabric wider than what I folded for the front, and that is because of zip allowance for the back part. And I'm going to just place the front piece on the folded fabric. This is me pinning the front to the back part to make sure that both of them stay put, and I'm just going to go ahead to curve out the zip part, to avoid the zip bulge. I'm going to be taking half of the zip allowance away from there, and I'm going to curve that to the hip line for that zip allowance part, just like you see on your screen, and that is going to eliminate that bulging that normally appears at the back of the zip. And I'm going to also curve it down to meet the down part, just like you see me doing. Just watch what I'm doing. It's just to give it that form illusion at the back. And the half inch I took out from the zip allowance place, I'm going to return it to this other side so that I have equal pieces for both the front and the back. Then I'm going to cut it out. Next, I'm going to notch the dart part for all of the pieces, both front and back, together like this. That way when I want to sew, I will know where the darts are and just measure what I have on this front part on the other side too while I want to sew, and that is going to help me hold the dart faster and easier. So these are the pieces for the front and the back of the down part of this dress. This is the front piece on your screen and the back pieces right there also. I'm going to be putting the back pieces aside to work on the front piece. There is a design we have on the front piece of the down part, and I'll be doing that with this chantilly lace that I showed you earlier. I'll just go ahead to place the lace on the fabric just like this to cut out the shape that I have at the front of the fabric. I actually didn't know what shape exactly to put while I was doing it, but I just worked with my intuition. So you can do a different design based on how you want it to look like. So this is me pinning it down. So to make the design at the front, I divided that side into two, and that is 10 inches. It's actually not equal because the upper part is not straight, but it's 10 inches that I marked out there, and then I connected it with a ruler to the other side to make a slanted line like you can see me doing. So this is what the line looks like, and I also went ahead to divide the horizontal measurement into two like this. So I also divided it into two, and from there I marked it this way. So that's where I had the triangle sitting. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to be marking out the triangle soon. You can be creative with this. You can do any design that you want. It's just for the down part not to be plain. Okay, so you can see me drawing out the triangles just like that. Eventually I had 3 triangles at the front, so I decided to stop at 3 triangles, and that is just it. On those markings I'm going to cut out the net. This first line on this side, I actually didn't later use it, so I only cut out these 3 triangles that are straight there. 1 2 3. Okay, so this is me cutting out the triangles based on what I have drawn on the net. You can see how they are looking already. So I'll go ahead to sew down the lace to the fabric. Next, I'll be cutting the pattern for the upper part. So I'm going to go ahead to draw an off shoulder pattern on the screen now, and I have this pattern paper folded already. So I'll be using a basic bodice to cut the off shoulder. So I'm marking out the back, which is 8 inches. That's 16 divided by 2. And I'm marking the chest line, which is 8 inches also. That is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. And I'm connecting that with a straight line to form the armhole curve. And this is the chest line here. So this is just drafting basic bodice that will stop at the waistline. It's not going beyond the waistline. So this is the shoulder to nipple measurement, then the shoulder to under bust measurement 13.5. I'm going to draw a horizontal line on those 2 points. Then I'm going to be drawing my armhole curve, which is my armhole divided by 2, and I'm going to go in by half an inch. If you don't know how to cut a basic bodice, you can just check my previous video on how to cut a basic bodice, and that is just what I'm redoing here. So I'm going to draw a curve over it that way. So this way I have the basic bodice already without that. Since I don't need that for the front of the dress, I won't be putting that on this, but on the back piece I'm going to draw out the dart. So I'm using this to cut both the front and the back of the upper part of the dress. This is me labeling the lines. That's the chest line, the bust point, the under bust length, and the waistline. So because what I need is the waistline, so it's not reaching the hip. Next, I'm going to be marking the shoulder slope, which is 1 inch down from the starting point, and I'm going to mark out the neckline also. I'm taking 3 by 3 inches, 3 inches wide and 3 inches long, and I'm going to connect that with my French curve to make the neckline, and I would connect the neckline to the shoulder slope. So my basic bodice is ready now. From here I'll be cutting the off shoulder that I need for this dress. I actually don't need a basic bodice, but to get the off shoulder I'll be using the basic bodice. I could have cut this without using the basic bodice, but this is just to make the explanation simpler for those that do not have the knowledge of how to cut an off shoulder pattern. Then I'll be placing the measurement for the dress on this, just the normal measurement, the bust divided by 4 there, the waist divided by 4, and I'm going to connect those two dots to form this slant. Like I said, there is no dart for the dress, so this is what I have now. So I'm going to cut off 5 inches from this. You can see what I just did. You can make it 4 if you don't want it to come that off as the one you see in the picture, but I took off 5 inches because I want the off shoulder to be down a bit, and I'm going to cut this off. So this is just another simple way of cutting an off shoulder dress. So you can see what it is now. Just cut a basic bodice. When you're done cutting the basic bodice, cut off whatever you want from the upper part, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches. And I'm going to go ahead to place this on the fabric I want to use to cut the back. Because I'm using this pattern to cut both front and the back pieces, I'll just add the zip allowance, that allowance to it. And this is me creating like a slanty part at the zip area, so there will be no bulge. And from there, I'm going to mark the dart measurement, which is nipple to nipple divided by 2, and that is what I have there. And on that nipple to nipple, I'm going to be holding ½ inch on both sides, and I'm adding my allowance to the dress here also, and I will be adding the dart allowance to it at that point also for the back part. So you can use what you have for the front for the back also, since there is no major difference there except the dart that we are adding to it. So after cutting, this is what I have. Don't forget to add the dart to the back like I already did, and I'll remove the pattern paper from the dress now so I can work on the neckline for the back. So this is me notching the dart part for the back. So when I want to sew it, I will know that that is where the dart is going to be, and I will just hold it to 1 inch below the bust point. That's the neckline I'm marking out now. I came down by 1.5 inch, and I'm going to connect that to the armhole like that in a slanting manner. So I have this V shape for the back neckline now. So these are the 2 back pieces. Next, I'm going to be working on the front piece of the upper part, and this is the same pattern paper that I'm going to use. First, I'm going to cut off the pattern paper from the under bust measurement to the waistline, just like you see me doing, because that is what I will use to cut the neck on that waist part. With this one now, I'll be able to cut that gathered part where the bust sits at the front. So I'm just going to place this on this fabric. I have 30 inches long here. You can have more than that. The more you have, the more fold you have. Before you cut, you're going to be adding your allowances to the down part. You know, you have to join this part to the waist. So once you have added your allowance, you can connect with a ruler to the other side of the fabric and cut it out just like you see me doing. To make sure that both pieces stay together, you can pin them down while cutting so they don't shift. So the 2 pieces for the front part of this dress are ready. Like you see on the screen, these are the parts you are going to gather to make that folded bust part that you see at the front. These 2 pieces are what make this gown a Milkmaid dress. So that is where you have achieved that Milkmaid effect. And I'm going to put them aside to work on the sleeves. So I have this sleeve pattern, this basic sleeve pattern already. It is right on my channel. I'll drop the link in the description box so that you can check it out if you don't know how to cut a basic sleeve pattern. And with this, I'm going to be cutting the off shoulder sleeve. You can cut an off shoulder sleeve with a basic sleeve pattern. So just watch how high I'm going to do it. I place the pattern on the net just like this, and I've added my allowance to it and I'm cutting it out. After cutting, these are what the 2 sleeves look like, and from here I'm going to be cutting the off shoulder sleeve right away because the sleeve is an off shoulder sleeve. So I'm just going to be cutting like 2 or 3 inches away from the sleeve at that part that you see me cutting, and like that you have your off shoulder pattern cut or out. There is another method for cutting an off shoulder pattern, but this is the method that I'm using in this tutorial. Maybe in another tutorial, I'm going to show you another method of cutting an off shoulder sleeve, and I'm going to do the same thing for both sleeves. So you can see that the off shoulder patterns are formed already, and I'm going to put them aside. Next, I'm cutting this part of the waist. You know, from the front pattern that I had the other time, I removed this part and I'm going to be cutting this out on this net. That is a part that you will join to the Milkmaid pattern, and also to the down part of the dress. So it's serving like an intermediary between the down part of the dress at the front and the milkmaid part. So I'm just going to cut it out, adding allowance as usual for joining. So this is it right here. I'm trying to show you what I was talking about in case you've forgotten that I cut something from the pattern the other time, and you can see the upper part. That's the full pattern on your screen there. Next, I'm going to be cutting that part where the buttons sit, the pressed buttons that I used at the front. So these two strips are what I will use as the overlap part in between the two pieces for the bust part. These two strips are what I will place in front of the fabric, just like I'm demonstrating here. So that's where the press buttons will be, or any kind of button that you want to use, but I used press buttons for mine to cover up the front part where will be having the opening that joins with the collar. So I've started joining, and this is the front part of the down part. You can see that I have attached the net, and I have also cut out the lining piece for it. So I'll go ahead to iron this out to make it lay very well. So I have cut lining for all the pieces, just like you see on the screen. I've also cut SA for some of them. I'm not using SA for all. I'm only using SA for the back pieces, that design at the waist, and the button channels at the front. So I'm going to be turning all of these pieces with the lining pieces already cut for them, and I'll be back to show you what I have. This is what I have when I was done turning out the fabrics with the lining pieces. These are the front pieces, that bust part, and that's the place where the button channels are going to stay. These are all the pieces right here, the back piece right in front of you. I already joined the zip allowance. I'll lose it later so I can place the zip in it, but for now I want it like this. And these are the button channels. The next thing I'm going to do is to pass the elastic through the hole I already made on this part of the chest, that bust part where we have the gather, the Milkmaid design. So I'm going to pass this elastic into it, just like you see me doing. Just attach your elastic to a safety pin and pass it through the hole you already have on the fabric. What I just did was, after turning it out, I just made another line very close to the edge of the fabric so that I will have a hole where I could pass the elastic. And after passing the elastic into the two channels for the front part, you're just going to sew it at both ends to keep them in place so that the elastic does not come out. So just watch what I'm doing. I eventually sewed the elastic down because it was actually pulling and almost revealing my boobs, so I had to just sew it down so that it stopped pulling. Instead of using the elastic, you can just cut a strip and pass it through. Use the measurement that you would want, the one that will fit your front part. That means you're just going to divide your front part into two. If your chest or your back measurement is 16, that means you're going to use 8 inches on both sides. So what I use here is also almost equal to that, and I sewed it down later so that the elastic will stay put. But I discovered that the best thing is to use a fabric, a non-stretchy fabric. So unless you want to expose your upper part, which I didn't want for my dress. Next thing is to attach the button channels to the center of the two pieces for the front. You can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take them to the machine now and sew it down and flip it over. So I'm doing it for both sides, and I'll be back to show you what I have. So when I was done, this is what I have. You can see what it looks like. This is what I was talking about. These those channels that will be attached to the collar later. Next thing is to attach these gathered parts to the net that I cut for the waist earlier. So we're going to just be gathering these pieces on the net, but before that I would like to pin this down so they stay together. After that, I'll be taking the net for the waist, that part that I cut out earlier. So before you do that, try to notch the center so you know where your center is. So from that place where you notch is where you will put the middle of the gathered part, just like you see me doing on the screen. Here you're going to be making use of your office pins a lot. You pin it down, pin them together, and then gather like that. You gather, you pleat till you're done pleating, just like that. And I will take this right away to the machine to secure the gathers in place. So when I was done gathering, This is what I have. This is the front part, the Milkmaid part. You can see how it's looking already. That's the back part also laying on it. So I have the back pieces. I already opened up the back pieces, and the next thing I want to do is to cut the collar, because I want to finish the upper part before I join it to the down part, which I already have in place. So I'm marking the length of the collar that I want. What you're going to do is that you're going to measure around your neck. You don't want your collar to be too tight and you don't want it to be too small. So what I measured here was 14 inches, which is just going to be enough for me. And if you need a tutorial on how to cut a collar, you can drop a message in the comment section and I'll decide whether to do a tutorial on it or not. But this is just a simple way of cutting a collar. Just watch what I'm doing. I have taken this, so I have these two strips that I'll be using for the collar. Both of them are 14 inches long. I want to measure 2 inches all the way down, so I'm trimming off the excess that I have, because what I need is 2 inches. You can use 1.5 inches or 2 inches for that part. So after that, I'm going to shape it here on both sides. Just make a curve on both sides so that you see that curve we normally see on collars. So I'm going to curve it out. While you're curving it out, don't let it affect the measurement that you already have, because if you curve out the edge that you're going to join to the button channels or the neckline, then it's going to get shorter and you don't want that to happen. So make sure that when you are curving it out, it doesn't affect the 14 inches length that you have. The moment you let it get there, you're going to have shorter length. This is the part that will be folding on it, so I already have that one in place. So I'm also going to make slanty lines. So I'm measuring this to also be sure what I have. This is going to be like 2.5 inches or 2 inches and a quarter, and I'm going to just shape this out to slant it so that it has that collar look. These are the two pieces for the collar standing together, so I just need to take note of where the slanty part should end. So I came in by 1 inch and then I connected it to the other end in a slanting manner, just like you see there. And I'm going to do this for the other side as well to make it equal. I already added estay to both of them, and look at the folded part, the neat folds. That is going to ease the sewing. It's going to make it easy to sew. So you're just going to place that inside it like that. Just watch what I'm doing. You can use office pins to hold it down, then you are going to sew straight down on it like that. So this is the collar. The collar is ready now. I can go ahead to attach this to the button channels. So you know there is no real neckline in this dress, so we are going to be working with this button channels that is up here. Since there are two, you sew one end of the collar to one and the other end of the collar to the other one to make it round. You need to be very careful here, because if you don't get it right, it's not going to come out well. So this is what I have when I was done. The collar on the fake neckline is already secured. You can see how beautiful it looks already. That's the collar standing right there. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring the down parts, which I already joined. I already joined the sides of the down part and even the back pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead to attach the upper part of the dress to the down part of the dress, just like you see on the screen. So just place the front part of the upper part together with the front part of the down part. Then you do the same thing for the back also. So this is what I have when I was done joining the upper part to the down part, and I'm going to be joining the side all the way up. I already joined the side for the down part, so I'll be joining the sides for the upper part also. So after joining both sides like that, I also made sure to overlock all of those edges so that the fabric doesn't pull. So it's very important that you do that. It makes your work neat when you overlock your rough edges. So I'm just going to join the two sides together, and this is what I have when I was done. I also added the zip already, so I'll be attaching the sleeves right now. So these are the sleeves for the dress, but before I attach the sleeves, there is something I did to the sleeves that I'll be showing you now. I cut these triangles from the remnant of the fabric and I sewed them to look like cones, just like you see on your screen. So I'm going to be dividing these triangles into two. I have 8 here, and I'm just going to be placing these cones inside each of the sleeves. So 4 cones to each sleeves. So I'm just going to place it like that and sew it down at the edge, then place the other one. I just wanted the sleeves to not be just plain. I wanted the sleeves to have some designs on them, so that's why I decided to use the remnant of the fabric to cut out these triangles that you see here, and you're going to just sew it down. So this is the dress right here. I've attached the sleeves, the edge of the sleeve at the shoulder part. I turned it with the bias tape, and these are the cones or the triangles sitting perfectly on the sleeves. I didn't attach the press button in this tutorial. I did that afterwards, so you can add any kind of button that you want to the button channels. So this is the end of this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up so that I get encouraged to do more. Thank you as you do so, and don't forget to drop your comments if you have questions, suggestions, observations, anything. Please make use of the comment section and air your opinion there. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for joining me on this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Like it and share it so that it gets wider reach. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video.